you may know about me a little bit, okay? You may be like, you watch some stuff about this. We have a pretty good parasocial relationship. I like the corn. Okay? I like my Constitution. I like to have my pocket Constitution here. I like my Sargon sex doll. Lots of things that I like. But you may know also, like, one of my favorite things of all time. One of my favorite things of all something that just dominates my life. Like right here. Like I got these. Just dominates my life. It's like all sorts of my life, okay? I got all sorts of shit going on. I got all sorts of books, okay? I got player's handbook. Look, I got this right here. You can't see it underneath the trash can. See those papers? All D&D related. I love D&D. I love it. It's like one of my favorite things to do. In fact, I'll be playing tomorrow night offline because you guys don't get that, okay? I just love D&D. I love it. It's one of my favorite things. And it had to be just ruined. It was ruined recently because I don't want to talk about it. Wizards of the Coast, the people who published D&D, said that orcs... I can't be racist anymore. I just want to be racist and play D&D, man. It's a fantasy. Why can't I think that orcs are inherently evil? It's just like 13% of the population does 50% of the crime, No bullshit will make me feel better. It'll make me feel better.
Hello and welcome back to NoBS. Today we're talking about another thing being called out by these PC SJW-led outrage mobs.
I totally agree. PC SJW mobs. That's true.
They've been going after everything in the past few weeks in a sort of fever pitch. They've kind of had a fire sale on their side because they started to get support in response to these terrible events that first spurred out of Minneapolis and then later Atlanta. And then they spread and it caused unrest in many, many big cities across the country.
Yeah, they killed a citizen. The police killed a citizen. The town guard in D&D killed someone just for being who they are. The town guard. Say you're in D&D, okay? Say you're playing D&D, and the town guard kills a citizen for being an orc, okay? They see an orc and on sight, they just kill that son of a bitch. Like they should. Because orcs are inherently bad and evil. How would your party respond to that situation? If they would be against the unlawful killing of a citizen within the walls of the city by the guard, they're the bad guys. That's it. Yep. We're going to try to make this like D&D, okay, guys?
This has emboldened the leftists who are now getting attention and basically going after everything. Companies are starting to cave in all over the place. They're giving out messages when they're getting forced into them. Lego has removed their cop-based play sets because, cops are supposed to be offensive now. Other things.
Cops aren't offensive. Cops are
Imagine Ohio
dogs.
saying orcs, despite making up 13 of the population, they commit 50 of the violent crime.
Oh, no. I get the joke. You made an orc joke. Oh no, guys! I lost $2,000 from USF Fight Bet. Ah, shit, A-Rod. I guess you should spend the rest of your money here, man. I guess you should gift 10, 15 subs to chat. Make yourself feel better, That's a much better investment than betting on a fight. I gotta be honest with you. Spreading the joy in chat, letting corn run amok. Despite being only 13% of the population, orcs commit 50% of the crime in D&D. That's true. That's a true fact. Thank you, I get the joke. I appreciate it. A-Rod, I look forward to you spending $2,000 in this chat soon, okay? Sorry about that, buddy. That sucks.
Things have changed. Gone with the Wind was taken off of HBO Max. Now it's put back up with a warning label. Stuff like that. Everything is under attack. Everything is being scrutinized. And today we're talking about another example. Today we're talking about a game called Dungeons and Dragons. Dungeons and Dragons is a long-time board game. You play...
Did this motherfucker just call Dungeons and Dragons a board game? I have a feeling that I don't think he knows what Dungeons and Dragons is. Okay.
With your friends, you have pieces and cards and stuff like that.
Pieces and cards and stuff like that. What? Wait, does he think it's like a card game with like pieces? What? This isn't what Dungeons and Dragons is at all. Oh no.
I'm not actually super familiar with the game. I've always heard of it. It's always been around in the background. I've seen them play it on Stranger Things, was a thing that had a Dungeons and Dragons set up recently. And
he's just floundering. Why not just look into it for 2 seconds?
And yes, it's just this old game. It's been around forever. And it's kind of similar. I would say it's similar to like a Lord of the Rings vibe because they have these kinds of magic characters battling these other monsters and other wizards and stuff like that. And that's the kind of thing that's gotten them under fire. Recently, people have made calls to defend the orcs in that game. There's this race of monster creatures called orcs in the game, kind of similar to the orcs that are in Lord of the Rings. And in Dungeons and Dragons, they're this bad group of people too. But since that's now offensive to kind of call someone an evil race, that's now being changed and the game has sort of caved in and they're basically kowtowing to get more publicity. I think it's a publicity stunt and it's keeping them alive in this modern, very PC age.
It's keeping them alive in this modern PC age. Dungeons and Dragons has never had an area of success larger than the last like 5 years. It's never been better to be Wizards of the Coast than the last 5 years. I can guarantee you that, okay? Here's some bits to help your hit points. Have you dying from the D&D cyclist? Thank you. Look, I just... People like Jeremy Crawford, who are in charge of Dungeons and Dragons, basically, as you know it. They're pretty fucking progressive people. Now, they get some flack for the Mike Merles shit that I recently found out about. I didn't know there was a thing or discourse because I don't really care about Wizards of the Coast as much as I care about like playing the game with my friends. I make a lot more content than they ever gave me. But they give me the basic rule set, so that's important. But I love Dungeons and Dragons. It has nothing to do with the branding of it. I like the 5th edition system specifically, and that is the one that me and my friends will play. And frankly, if you could do it for free, go for it. I don't care. I really don't care. You don't have to spend a dime. You do not have to spend a dime on this shit if you don't want to. That said, people spend a lot of money on this shit because it's fun. It's a good time. And what the thing is orcs. Here, let's actually look it up. You guys want to look it up? I'm fucking amazing. Okay. You know I'm amazing. Okay, because I just have all this shit just fucking on hand. Okay, I have this on hand right now. Okay, check this out. We're gonna go to orcs. I got my monster manual here. Orcs 244. Okay, 244 orcs. Okay, so here's the thing. Here's what an orc looks like. Okay, that's what an orc looks like roughly. I mean, it can look like whatever you want. Really, it's make believe. But like this is kind of like what they put forward. Sort of tusky, large fellas. Let's talk about orcs. This is in D&D lore specifically, okay? Orcs are savage raiders and pillagers with stooped postures, low foreheads, and piggish faces with prominent lower canines that resemble tusks. So they're sort of piggy people. In old D&D, they looked basically just like hogs that were people. Like they had hog heads and they were people, but they've changed a little bit. Kind of adopted some of the modernity of Lord of the Rings, stuff like that, as pop culture sort of took over. So orcs worship Grumsh, the mightiest of the orc deities and their creator. The orcs believe that in the ancient days, the gods gathered to divide the world among their followers. When Grumsh claimed the mountains, he learned that they had been taken by the dwarves. He then laid claim to the forest, but those had been settled by the elves. Each place that Grumsh wanted, he had already been claimed. The other gods laughed at Grumsh, but then he responded with a furious bellow. Grasping his mighty spear, he laid waste to the mountains, set the forests aflame, and carved great furrows in the land. Such was the role of the orcs, he proclaimed, to take and destroy all that the other races would deny them. To this day, the orcs wage an endless war on humans, elves, dwarves, and other folk. So, first of all, I mean, they're basically they're downtrodden from the beginning, right? So there are some people, especially racist people, that take this and go like, orcs are insert ethnic group I don't like, right? There's other stuff you don't need to know about this. It's really not the point. The point is that you can see here on these stat blocks. I'll even zoom in for you so you can see a little bit better. Okay, you see this? It says Orc War Chief. Okay. They're medium humanoid orc and then chaotic evil. This right here is all they're changing. The only thing they're changing is chaotic evil about orcs and about pretty much all the other things, right? Okay? All the other things. They're saying, hey, your race doesn't make you innately anything. It doesn't make you good, bad, neutral, whatever. It just doesn't make you chaotic evil. That right there is just alignment. None of the numbers, none of the stuff that makes the game work. It's literally just flavor text of chaotic evil. That's what they're taking out of this game. And alignments, to me, not super important unless you're, like, playing, unless you, like, need a deity in your game to align with you. Like, you're a cleric and you're supposed to be healing people and you start murdering people. Yeah, you're going to lose the favor of your god. You know what I'm saying? Shit like that. Like, come on. Come on. That's the only thing they're changing, dude. Not a big deal. Not a big deal. And frankly, everything in these... Does it say this exactly in the Monster Manual? It definitely says it in the Dungeon Master's Handbook. How to use this book. The best thing about being a DM is this is the most important part here. This is people that don't fucking understand how to use this book. The best thing about being a DM is that you get to invent your own fantasy world and bring it to life, and nothing brings a D&D world to life better than to the creatures that inhabit it. You might read our monsters entries and be spurred to create an adventure revolving around it, or you might have an awesome idea for a dungeon and just need the right monster to populate it. That's where the Monster Manual comes in handy. The Monster Manual is one of 3 books that form the foundation of Dungeons & Dragons: the PHB, the DMG, and the Monster Manual. It's a book for DMs, whatever. Guidelines for creating encounters with monsters can be found in the DM's guide, blah, blah, blah. If you've never run anything, blah, 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 have a starter set. So, look, it also says, like, hey, here's some stuff where you can put it. Hey, but you don't have to. What monsters to use? Many monsters inhabit dungeons, will live in deserts, whatever. This is just some ideas. These are some ideas that we have. Modifying creatures. Modify them however you want. Their alignment, it provides a clue to the disposition and how it behaves in role-playing combat situations. For example, chaotic evil monster might be difficult to reason with and might attack characters on sight, whereas a neutral monster might be willing to negotiate. Some creatures can have any alignment. These alignments are totally different. Up to you. Hit points, up to you. Tags, up to you. This is all up to you. It's how you want to make it. And that's the point. The point is that they're just taking what seems like a lack of choice in a role-playing game. They're saying, hey, guess what? They're not going to be inherently chaotic evil. If you want to go that way, go that way. If you don't, don't. That's it. That's the whole thing. That's what the racists are mad about. And it's literally racists. They're like, no, orcs are always bad. If you are so fucking uncreative that orcs always have to be bad in your campaign, you're bad, and no one should want to play with you. You're bad. You're not creative. You're not fostering fun. You're just sad. Hi, Bellum. Welcome to the shit show.
This article has more details. It's from PC Gamer. Here's their first tweet. It says, D&D is getting rid of the concept of evil races, right?
Oh, God, he showed himself. Ah!
Right from the get-go. Pretty ridiculous. You know, we're talking about a long-running game. We're talking about these monster creatures, or there's
Why is it ridiculous? Wait, what?
There's other races in these worlds, like there's elves, There's the human races. There's like hobbits. Again, I might be getting a little confused with the stuff that's in Lord of the Rings because it reminds me of that a lot. So let's go ahead and get to the article then and get the specifics, and we can see where this is going. D&D is trying to move away from racial stereotypes. It's getting rid of the concept of evil races and making changes to racial ability scores. Now, This is something I've heard about recently too. I think Magic the Gathering was another game that had to remove some of their cards. Some of their pieces are just not playing well with this kind of woke culture we're in. The problem is politically correct nature. The left is deleting our history, and
This isn't fucking history, it's a game. What the fuck are you talking about?
trying to rewrite things and doing this very, very Marxist, like communist move. Where
it's not Marxist or communist. Do you know what they're doing? What they're doing is they're going to add an optional rule that is really cool. It's something akin to, like, instead of saying, okay, hey, let me show you. Let me show you. For those that don't play, that might not get it, not a really big deal. I could show you in 2 seconds how this works, okay? So you look here, you go, okay, I want to play a fucking elf. 21. We'll go to page 21. Oops, I actually did 210. 21. We'll go to an elf. Here's an elf. Okay. Here's different things. Here's some elf names you can. Here's all the things you need to know about elves in D&D's lore, which isn't always the case. You just take stuff that inspires you. Here's some elf names if you like that shit. They get different names when they age. Here's some different things about them. Female, family names. Different abilities. So here's what they're talking about. Ability score increase. Let's zoom in right here. If you are an elf, they say you get a natural ability increase of dexterity. Okay? Not a big deal. What they're going to do is instead of saying that your ability score increase is tied to your innate racial existence, right? Instead of saying that, what they're doing is they're going to say, okay, based on your vocation, like if you are a cleric, maybe instead of the dexterity, maybe you're just more wise. You don't necessarily have to take the dexterity from the race, right? They're just saying, okay, based on your job, based on your experience, based on your background, maybe you're better or worse at different things instead. That's literally the only change they're making. And it's an optional rule that you can pick up if you'd like to. It's not a big deal. And I like it too. I think it's interesting. I think it makes a much more well-rounded character when you're first starting out, especially for new players. It helps you sort of justify the way that you are good at certain things. I think that's interesting. It's kind of sick. So, yeah, it's a good optional rule.
They tear down our statues. They remove history and media that they don't like. They cancel this movie.
I'm going to bully Brooks
this
IRL.
Game we're talking about today, and that's the real problem. It's not that these things are actually super offensive or racist at all. Usually they're not. Usually it's just overblown and them kind of looking too far into things. D&D's fantasy races are often painted in broad strokes, ensuring that if you ever need a cunning villain, you can always just grab a drow. Or
Drow? It's drow, nerd.
Maybe an orc if you need a monstrous warrior with an anger problem. Wizards of the Coast says it's trying to put an end to that, however, in an attempt to make tabletop game more inclusive.
Yes.
In a blog published last week, the publisher outlined some of the changes it's already made, as well as steps it's planning to take. D&D 5th edition is easily the most accessible and inclusive edition of the game, but there's still loads of room for improvement. 2016's Curse of Strahd, for instance, contained the Vistani, a group made from Romani tropes, and one that exacerbated negative stereotypes.
Yep.
Wizards of the Coast has made changes to Curse of Strahd, and it's also planning to explore the Vistani further in 2 upcoming books with assistance of a Romani consultant.
That sounds cool, and I'm into that. I don't play modules. Modules are like, for those uninitiated, again, modules are like more of a linear way to play D&D. Like, it's a story that's laid out it has, lots of different branches and stuff, but it's basically like, it's playing D&D with a little bit of, like, roads. There's roads you can travel on. You can't really go off the roads very much. You can do stuff within those roads, like there's lots of lanes in the roads, lots of stuff you can do with them. I don't really care for them that much. But there's lots of really cool inspiration from it. It definitely tells early DMs how to tell a story and kind of how to pace and stuff like that. So it's good for learning for sure. Some people only like this. It's definitely good if you want to run one-shots and stuff like that, you don't have a lot of time. They're really fun to play. But other than that, I don't really use them. I'm not really into it. That said, I like the idea of basically they're published stories that you get to play through with someone else. It's really cool.
Okay, again, we're already getting into points where we're in Crazy Town. We're talking about a children's game. Some teens and adults play it too, but it's
not really a children's game. I wouldn't say it's a children's game. I think he's yeah, I don't know about that. It's pretty complex for like an 8-year-old to play. No, it's definitely like, you're in your 20s. You usually need an adult to run this shit. I think he saw that, like you mentioned, the Stranger Things, and he thinks that kids can just do this shit. Like, he can, but it's not going to be to the level that everybody is talking, right? And they're certainly not going to be dealing with this kind of shit. This is wild.
It's a little game. It's Dungeons and Dragons. It's played on a board. People do it at comic book shops.
It's not played on a board.
Those are still around. I don't know. That's the way I used to.
He doesn't know if comic shops are around?
See it as a kid. It was like comic book shops and people playing cards. I used to play Pokemon cards, though. I was a Pokemon guy. That might make me sound better or worse. I'm not really sure. Pokemon was always more accessible to me, more interesting. Nothing wrong with Dungeons and Dragons, though. It's just, it's this little kind of niche kind of group, and they're getting taken over.
Even if it was a kid's game, yeah, Brooks, it'd be great to teach kids that some races of people are just inherently evil. True.
Because they're just trying to pander, and we know that Wizards of the Coast has had a lot of issues with that in the past too. And it's just ridiculous.
Yeah, it's wild to call this niche at all. On Thursday, obviously, Charisma Saves happens. But did you know that the largest stream on the platform is Dungeons and Dragons? It's Critical Role. And the largest stream on the platform. The second biggest, actually, that's not true. The League Championship Series, League of Legends, gets 100,000 viewers or something like that. As far as independent, just creators, they're the biggest stream, like not networks or whatever. The third biggest one, I believe, is the Austin show. I'm trying to get on! God damn it, Austin. Anyway.
Ridiculous. Like, we're talking about orcs. We're talking about monster characters. Like, these guys are like...
Was it 120K on episode 100? Jesus.
Just bloodthirsty. They're like the worst kind of... Just a go-to villain. I don't see why they want to, like, oh, let's get the nuance of that. Like, let's get some motivation for those orcs. There's good orcs, too. Like, it's just so silly to me.
It's so silly to me. My God. I can't even, like, describe to you how fucking dumb... Like... He's clearly, like, look at this fucking guy. Look at, I know he's down below me, right? You see that? Like, this guy's not a fucking jock by any stretch. Hey, granted, look at me. I'm no physical fucking specimen here. But God, he talks like a jock, but if jocks saw him in high school, he would have got bullied relentlessly, like he should be, like the Lord intended. God. This is just ridiculous. You need to have nuance in... If you guys have watched Charisma Saves, you know that my insides are boiling right now. Everything has nuance. Everyone is not always just evil. Okay? That like the vulture that they killed recently. Kind of a good guy, depending on your perspective and where you come from. I'm just saying. Some people want to be a half-orc with a nice parent. I know, right? It's not a D&D story, but currently my favorite TTRPG character is a super charismatic android. When androids usually have debuffed charisma, play the exception. It's super fun. That's what I'm saying. I like the idea of a low charisma bard. Even if his charisma score is high so he can cast spells and shit. I like the idea of a bard that is bad at talking. I really like it. Maybe just good looking or something. Yeah. No one wants evil for evil's sake. That's just boring bullshit.
The more fantastical races aren't free from these issues either. Wizards of the Coast acknowledges that the language often used to describe some races are painfully reminiscent of how real-world ethnic groups have been and continue to be denigrated. Eberron, Rise of the Last War, and Explorer's Guide to Wildemount. These
Wildemount.
Names and words are so hard to read sometimes. Okay, both published in the last year, paint Drow orcs as just as complex as other races.
Yes.
And apparently that's how they'll be presented going forward.
Thank you, Matthew Mercer. I love you, buddy. Hey, I'd love to call you a friend of the show. I'd love to. Someday, maybe we will. But he made he wrote the Explorer's Guide to Wildmount, as Wildmount is his setting for campaign 2 of Critical Role. And yeah, his drow are multifaceted. They're not plain evil. They have a matriarch. It's very subtle. It's interesting. They got a lot going on, and it's very cool. And yeah, that's what I like. Guess what? Mine are too, motherfucker. Mine are too. And we visited my drow before we visited yours, Matthew. And I'll have you know that I'm the trendsetter here, not you. He also stole the Midwestern-sounding Furbolg from me. God damn it. Oh, hello there. I'm a Furbolg. That was me! Stole it from me.
So now I'm getting like there's like a World of Warcraft kind of vibe too. Like it reminds me of that World of Warcraft game, how it came back, and then also like how South Park would goof on that, and they talk about all these like elves to drow, and you know, like there's the orc race, and then but this is exactly what I was predicting just a few minutes ago. I was saying they're trying to give them nuance to these like monsters. It's basically like if you did the same thing.
They're not monsters. They aren't monsters. They're sapient people with culture. They're not monsters.
To like 1940s Germans, you're like, oh, but there's nuance to that. Like, you got to say this or that. It's like, no, they wouldn't accept that. But when it comes to orcs, it's like, oh, yeah, we got to be careful. As well as changing how it approaches.
What? Did he just say be nice to Nazis, not orcs?
Future books and the language they use. There will also be changes to your characters. Wizards of the Coast is planning to offer a way for players to customize their character's origin and make changes to their racial ability score. Races get different ability bonuses, the elves being especially dexterous, but you'll be able to pick a different bonus that better reflects your character.
What did I tell you?
The option emphasizes that each player in the game is an individual with capabilities all their own, says Wizard. And
it's an option.
Well as being less restrictive, it feels more in keeping with the 5th edition that places storytelling above mass. A+1 modifier isn't what makes a character or a group of people interesting. When the option will be available hasn't been announced yet, but it's coming later this year.
He doesn't know any of what he's talking about, so he has no way to make a fucking coherent sentence out of this.
So they're really like revamping the whole game. They're
not revamping the whole game. It literally says option. It's not a revamp of the whole game. Holy shit! Oh, he doesn't know what he's talking about at all. He doesn't know what he's talking about. He doesn't know what he's talking about. Chat. Save me from myself. Holy shit! It's not a revamping of the entire game. It's not. It is a... Oh, my God. Oh, my God. The option, with a little bit of a different twist. Okay, holy shit. Holy fucking shit. Okay. All right. Chat, it's time for art. Are you ready for art, chat? It's time. We're doing art. Come to me for Artland, okay? Here's a black box for you guys. I'm going to fill it with a solid color. There we go. Hold on. That should fill. Is that not filling? Hold on. Let me just fill it. There we go. Now chat, you can see chat. Okay. There you go. You're welcome. I'm a genius. Okay. So here's what's going to happen, okay? So when you start a character in Dungeons and Dragons, you get a few different things. You get your strength, okay? Actually, let's you know what? I have this right here. Let's just put it up at fucking 48. I don't know. You get strength, you get dex, you get con.
It'll be okay, Papa.
Oh, it won't be.
Just remember how good D&D is, not how bad he is.
Oh, you're right. I get the joke. Thank you so much for the donation. I love you deeply. Okay, these are the things that you start the game with, okay, chat? These are the things you start the game with. Strength, dexterity, constitution, wisdom, intelligence, charisma. Strength, pretty obvious. It's strong. Dexterity, it's like your agility and stuff like that. It's pretty obvious. It's not a big deal. Con, it's your constitution. It's basically how tough you are, how many hit points you have. Wisdom, sort of like think street smarts. Your perception, your ability to intuit things. Intelligence, you know, intelligence, you get it. It's how, like, book smart you are, okay? And then charisma, how good you are at talking to people and how just, like, basically when people view you, like, how you carry yourself in a conversation. Someone in real life can be dog shit at talking but have a really good charismatic character, and they're just a little bit more successful at talking to people. That's it. So, and then they have different values on how you cast spells and whatever, but we don't have to get into that. Here is the difference, okay? When you start with a character, however it happens, okay? Say an elf, you get the +2, okay? So there's the 2 to dexterity, okay? We'll go back to here. You can also pick a sub race. So high elf, let's just say a high elf gets an intelligence increase of 1, okay? And 1. Okay. A level 1 character is likely to have at least one thing, one of these values, up to 20. 20 is the highest you get. Think about Fallout, right? Fallout has the different way to decide where your points go, like agility, luck, strength. You know what I'm saying? It's the same thing as Fallout, okay? It just gives you modifiers to your goodness, okay? So most characters are going to have one score that starts, it's going to be around 18, okay? You're going to have some 10, you're going to have a 12, you're probably going to have like an 11, you probably have like a 14, you might have like a shitty one, like a 6, okay? These numbers determine how good you are at shit later on, okay? The only difference, this is not a revamping of the game, okay? This is a bad roll. What are you talking about? Oh, a 6? Yeah, but sometimes you get a dump stat. Just get over it. Also, I point by. I don't roll anymore. Point by is superior. So, the only thing that's changing are these two right here. Okay? You're talking about collectively a modifier on 1d20 roll equal to +1. 1. This is not revamping the game. This is giving you an option for the beginning to change it. That's it. It's literally 1 point of improvement. 1 point. How many points do you usually give for point buy? All values start at 6. You can take less if you wish. No one wishes. So strength, dex, con, wisdom, intelligence, charisma all start at 6. And then you get 32 points plus your racial bonus to put towards your character at level 1. Yeah. And that's how it works. Yeah, I don't like to do the point roll. I don't like it. People usually end up too powerful, not low powered, although I guess Dragon Mike had one time when you rolled pretty unlucky, but yeah. Nope. You just do 32. I don't start at 8 with 27, I start at 6 with 32 because 6 makes a lot more sense. 6 you can be illiterate. Yeah. Anyway, let's continue this fucking dog show. Like to roll for stats myself? Yeah, I don't roll. You can like it, but I don't like it. It's power gamey. Not a fan.
Going all in on this kind of racial, like, fairness, like, awareness kind of thing. Like, I think most people didn't care. I don't think anyone was really concerned about this.
Wizards of the Coast was concerned about it. Oh, that's terrible, Flavor. I totally disagree with that.
I know there were some stories. Like, of course, there's always going to be a few SJWs calling something racist. That happens. And I've heard...
It's not about it being racist, dude. It's just about making sure that you have a situation in which you're not perpetuating the sort of language that happens there. And just being like, you know what? Yeah, I guess this is a little funny. We can do this in a better way that makes the game funner, more fun for everybody.
Heard this orc thing actually brought up in the last few weeks. There was stories about it like a month or so ago, and now it's popping up again. And it's basically, I think, the way
standard point buy is 27. However, if you add your racial bonuses, that's going to be a solid 30. which means that you're going to have even numbers no matter what. This guarantees one odd number in your ability scores.
And that's how I like it.
Because it doesn't let you just sit there with even ability scores, and you got to deal with that as you level up. That's interesting. Makes you make harder decisions. Much more fun. Much more fun.
I see it. It's Wizard of the Coast and the Dungeons and Dragons people, like, trying to get relevant. They're trying to virtue signal and say, hey, we're
trying to get relevant. It's huge. What are you talking about? D&D is huge.
We're fixing our race problem. Like, check us out. Like, come buy our toys again. Come play our game. Read this book. You know, it's just kind of a publicity stunt, and it's just empty, like, useless. Like, oh, they're not really saving the world like they claim. I mean, you might be playing.
Wait, they claim to be saving the world. They're literally what? What? It's just trying to make D&D a more inclusive game. I don't know. I guess this guy, he for a conservative, he really hates the free market. It's just really weird.
For that in the game, you could be this hero who has to save the world from villains or something, but that's not what they're doing here. Here they're just...
Holy shit! This only has 1,100 views? Oh, this is NoBS News. Never mind.
Being silly and caving into this outrage mob, and they don't need any more cave-ins. Like, the outrage mob is already too confident. They've already taken down Aunt Jemima. They've already
taken down Aunt Jemima. You guys know about that corn syrup with the black lady on there? That's the one I like. I like myself and Aunt Jemima. Oh, God. Flever, I have a question. I'm done with this. Fuck this guy. He's done. He's done. I'm 100% done with you. You're